The black man in America has fallen from grace. This is The Revolution. I'm your host, J.R. Stewart. Today I'm going to take a different direction, sort of. Now, you guys know that I'm on record for not liking the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, to me, is the great devourer, the great Satan of our time, ruined the lives of black people. But how did this happen? Let's take a look at the role that the black man has played. The black man, in my opinion, since the first humans on this planet were Africans. All life started in Africa, we know that. So everybody who has lived, who is living, or who will live, is really an African. So there's only one race. There's a human race. And for the most part, we're all African. But the black man is the first son of God put on this planet. That sort of makes him closer to divine than anyone else. And if you look at the condition of Africa, you look at the condition of the black man in America, they parallel for the most part. You have black people stuck in refugee camps in Africa by the thousands, being warehoused. You have black people here in America being warehoused in projects and ghettos, inner city, slums, by the millions. And how did this happen? Because the black man who should be there to lead his family, to provide the leadership and guidance that is needed for children, to be a strong head of household, is not there. The poor black woman has been left to do the job by herself. She has to be both mother and father, husband and wife, male and female to her children as best she can. And the job is not easy. I know this because my mother and my grandmother raised me for the most part, with some help from my uncle. I know the difficulty of a single mother trying to raise children. My father was in prison, spent 10 years in prison, so from the age of 8 to 18, I was pretty much fatherless. By the time he got out of prison, I was an adult, going to college. And I like to think that I turned out okay. But I knew that there were a lot of things I was lacking, so I prayed on him. I asked God to show me things, to enlighten me. Unfortunately, my prayers were answered because I see things now that I wish I hadn't seen. I didn't see. I see how the black community ended up in the condition that it's in. It's because the leadership from the black man is not there. And when that void was created by the Democratic Party, they stepped in with their values. They became the leader. They became the caretakers of the home. They dictated the terms. They gave a woman a voucher for Section 8, but then they told her that you can't have a man in the household. We'll give you food, we'll give you some money for utilities, but you can't have a man around the kids. You know, you can't be involved with anyone because now Uncle Sam is your new man. He's your new God, he's your new husband, he's your new everything. And the black man sat by and allowed this to happen. Rather than stand up and reject the handouts of the government, rather than stand up and say, no, I'm going to take care of my family. No, I'm going to take care of my kids. I'm going to be responsible. You're not going to take over my family. You're not going to poison the mind of my black woman. But no, that didn't happen. The black man didn't have the courage. He didn't have the strength. So now, look at him. You've fallen from grace. You're no longer divine. You're not a king. No, you forget this nonsense you try to tell yourself with black pride and black. What is there to be proud of when you sit in prisons? What is there to be proud of when you lack an education? What is there to be proud of when you don't lead your children, provide leadership that they need and direction? What is there to be proud of when you sit in hellfire, you're willing to die for colors, respect, but you're not willing to die for your children by going out and work? You're not willing to lay it on the line for your wife. You're not willing to go out and make sure they have a safe home and an environment and food to eat in an honest way. You're a disgrace. The black man in America is a disgrace. Oh, there are a few that have made it, sure. There are a few that are halfway decent, doing the right thing. And I'm not going to celebrate that. You don't get a pat on the back for doing what you're supposed to do. I remember taking my daughter to school, getting involved with what was going on. Every time the phone rang and the teacher or the principal or someone called and says she didn't do her homework or she was talking too much in class, I stopped. I took off from work. I would go up to the school and I'd be at that classroom before the class even ended to correct the situation. And the people thought, oh, a black man involved in his child's life, checking on her education, making sure that she goes to school and do her work. That's commendable. Actually, it's not. No, that is what a father is supposed to do. No celebration, no pat on the back for what you're supposed to. That's just average people stuff. And we've got to stop telling our kids when they do average stuff that's exceptional because they're black. It's not. It's just average. And when you do average people stuff, as a black man, you walk and chew bubble gum and talk at the same time. You don't get a parade for that. That's average people stuff. When you take care of your family and decide that you're going to provide direction and leadership for your wife and your children, that is what you're supposed to do. You don't get a reward for that. When your kids grow up to be functional adults, go off to college and get on with their life and do great things, you don't get a medal for that. That is what you're supposed to do. When you provide a roof and a house and food and keep the utilities turned on and provide a safety net for you and your family, you don't get a medal for that. That is what you're supposed to do. But now we can look at the ruins. Look at where we are right now. Look how this evolved. All the free handouts, all the free stuff supposedly. And we bought into it because we thought we were entitled. Oh yeah, the country owed us for slavery, for Jim Crow, for discrimination. It's interesting, though, it's ironic, that the very people who brought you slavery, the Democratic Party, who brought you the KKK, the Democratic Party, who brought you separate but equal, the Democratic Party, who brought you Jim Crow and the Black Codes, the Democratic Party, the very people you were fighting against for the civil rights in the civil rights movement, the Democratic Party, the very people who lied to us, mistreated us, the Democratic Party, are the very people who then decide to give you a handout and convince you that you're entitled to this. Oh, no, there's no shame. Take it. This is for slavery. This is for all the dirt that's been done to you. All the dirt they've done to you. Using public money to buy you off. And now you support them. You give them your vote. And we don't pay attention to the fact that our neighborhoods are falling apart. Our kids are dropping out of school at an enormous rate. Every negative category there is, we lead. High school dropout rates, we're number one. Unemployment, oh yeah, we're number one. Dysfunctional families, we're number one. Graduating 3 and 4 grade levels behind, oh yeah, we're number one. Man, we can't continue to look at all the destruction that exists. We have black people in West Baltimore, Detroit, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, Compton, all over the country, New York. They're rising up because they know it's not supposed to be this way. But when you lay down with the devil, then this is what you get. You get a hellish existence. So we have to go back to doing the things that we know we're supposed to do. That is sticking together. But before we can even get to the sticking together and improving the communities, at a basic level, we have to take care of the black family first. We have to get that on track. Black men, black women, you need to come together and raise families, start families and raise kids, and raise them the right way, the way that we know to raise them. Tough discipline. It's tough out there. So you have to be tough on your kids because the world is even tougher. We can't raise soft babies anymore. No more softness. We're out here, we're in America to conquer. You know, 12 million slaves were brought to America. 10 to 12 million is the best we can estimate. At least 20 million were thrown into the ocean during the Middle Passage, eaten by the sharks. The sharks would follow the slave ships from Africa to the Americas because they knew that there were going to be bodies, a meal thrown into the ocean. All they had to do was follow the ships. You dishonor your ancestors when you end up in prison. You dishonor your ancestors when you don't feed your brain. You know nothing but how to get over, how to be a crook. That's a dishonor. You come from some of the original people on this planet. You're the fastest, you're the smartest, you're the most ingenious there is. But you allow others to treat you like you're dirt. I had a discussion with my sister. Her and my mother were very instrumental in getting Juneteenth recognized in Louisiana. They worked very hard on it, so I don't want to take away from their accomplishment. But my sister does not feel like she is fully an American, that the 4th of July is her independence. So she rather celebrate Juneteenth. I don't have a problem with that. More power to her. But let me just say this for those who think that way. The black man and the black woman left the continent of Africa about 100,000 years ago and populated the world. Everywhere a black person set their feet is your land. Because your ancestors are the ones who populated that land. There wouldn't be a Europe if it weren't for Africans. There wouldn't be a Middle East or an Asia. There wouldn't be a Russia. There wouldn't be a North America, Central America, South America without Africans. How can you be a foreigner any place in this world? You can't. Now, I may say Antarctica. If you set foot in Antarctica, okay, you can be a foreigner there because we never made it there to populate Antarctica. But every other place on this planet, those people came from Africa. So you as a black person, as an African, you cannot be a foreigner on any land. So this country is your country because you help populate it. You help make America what it is. You help with the development of America. You help her see that she was not living up to her words, that all men are created equal. It took blood, sweat, and tears, and lives, skin in the game, to make America realize and come to her senses. America's a better place now for the sacrifice of our ancestors. You dishonor that memory. You dishonor the people who came before you and fought hard to give you this opportunity for you to end up in prison, for you to end up with a bunch of children you can't take care of, with no direction. It's sad enough that the government has to take care of your children, but you don't even provide the direction and leadership that they need. My father was a drug dealer. I rode around with him in South Dallas, Fair Park area, Rochester Park, Bear Street. I remember the juke joints and nightclubs. I remember riding around and how he would collect money from the prostitutes who sold heroin for him. He owned a motel in South Dallas that the prostitutes would take their johns there to get high. And I remember him always telling me, son, this is my life. This is not for you. You're going to be the steward that goes to college. You're going to be a steward that goes to become an engineer. I always remember that. Now I have a degree in electrical engineering. I have a degree in computer science engineering. I didn't become a drug dealer. I've never been to prison like my father. I don't have a criminal record. I have no desire for that lifestyle. He made sure that that was his life and that my life was going to be different. So for those who say, well, I don't have anything to contribute to my kids because I'm living a foul life. No, you still have an obligation. You can still tell your son that, son, this is my life, it's not for you. Your life is to go to school, become a lawyer, a doctor, become whatever you want to be. The world is yours for the taking. You are a warrior. And you're a warrior not just with your fists, not just by pulling the trigger, which there's nothing to worry about pulling the trigger. Just makes you a punk and a bitch, if that's what you have to resort to. You fight your battles with your mind. You fight your battles by being more creative than your counterparts. We're just as smart as the Asian kids. We're just as smart as the Asian people. They accomplish more because they believe in themselves. And we don't realize how smart we are. I have a younger brother who, on Facebook, he posted how he was having difficulty finding the right woman for himself because he's looking for a woman that challenges him. My younger brother's a brilliant man, very smart. My younger sister's brilliant. And if you don't believe me, I tell you what, you play dominoes against them. And it doesn't take but one bad play for them to tear you up. You know, the mental calculations that it takes to extrapolate 2 and 3 plays ahead to figure out what you have in your hand. Some people can do that when you get down to the last domino or two. They can look at the board and kind of figure out what you have left, maybe, with a reasonable guess. My brother and sister can do that after 2 or 3 dominoes have been played. You still have 4 in your hand. They're pretty much sure what you have around the board. I mean, that's how good they are. It takes a tremendous amount of brain power to do that. So yes, my little brother and little sister are very brilliant. They don't always use that brilliance. They may not always realize it. But my little brother is starting to realize it because he wants to be challenged mentally by the woman in his life. And I wish him well in that pursuit. But my point to this is that there are a lot of brilliant black men sitting in prison over colors, over a gang symbol, over the feeling that someone dissed me. You fighting for respect. You want to fight for something? Fill your brain with knowledge, and then you go out and be a warrior and you fight. Improve your vocabulary. Work on improving yourself and your self-image. Remind your children how smart they are and how you expect great things from them. I have a friend named Charles. He's first-generation American. His parents immigrated here from Vietnam. Charles would tell me stories of how he was on the honor roll all of his school life. And there were many times that he got beatings for being on the honor roll, for having too many B's on his report card. He said, Jimmy, one time I came home with a report card and I had 3 B's and I had 4 A's. My parents only allowed me to have 2 B's. I couldn't have any more than that, any more than 2. They didn't understand why I could not make all A's, because all they knew was A was excellent. They wanted me to be excellent, and that's what they expected. That bar was set pretty high in Charles's household and their family. We need to set our bar equally high. We don't accept B's. We don't accept C's, first of all. C's, D's, and F's, those don't come home to our house. To a black home, no mas, no more. No more accepting C's and D's and F's and social promotion for our kids. That's not going to happen anymore. We don't even accept too many B's on the report card. We need to have the same rule. 3 B's I think is acceptable. No more than 3. 3 is the limit. Everything else is to be an A. And we need fathers, black fathers, strong fathers, to enforce that rule, to be there. So we're going to start by cleaning up our schools, providing a good education for our kids and giving them a chance. Letting them know that we expect them to go to that school and compete, to be the smartest one in the classroom, second to none. We're not taking a back seat to anyone. When you graduate from school, we want you to test off the chart. We don't want you 3 and 4 grade levels behind the national average. When you go to college, you don't need affirmative action for college. We're going to get in college on our own merits. And we're going to dominate the landscape of Yale and Harvard, even some of the black schools, the Spelmans of the world, and the Howards and the Morehouse and the Clarks. We're going to do that. And the purviews of it, I don't want to leave out any black schools. But the point is that we're not going to be the affirmative action babies anymore. We're going to let Asians and whites and Jews be the affirmative action babies in the future. Because our kids are going to excel, and the bar's going to be set so high, they're going to perform so well. They're not going to need anybody's affirmative action to survive and get by. Listen, I want to thank you for taking the time out to listen to my video blog. For those who have been helping, I want to say thank you. I appreciate it. Gracias. I've been working on my Spanish. And for those who have shared my video on Facebook and YouTube, thank you. Help me get the word out. I'm doing everything I can to save my people, to bring awareness to my people, to help turn things around. This is very important to me. I do not want to go to my grave with the condition of the black community continuing to get worse. It doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to exist this way. So we can show the world that we're better people than this. That we're honest people, that we're good people, we're smart people, industrious, hard-working. Most important, we're people with a sense of accomplishment. And we're going to show the world that we're capable of accomplishing things. we're going to gain the respect of the world. And it's not going to take 100 years to do it. We're going to do this in one generation. But it starts with the kids. We have to provide strong leadership. We have to set the bar really high and then let them know that we expect them to cross that bar, or there are going to be serious consequences to be dealt with. And we have to mean it. We've got to stop being our kids' friends. Stop trying to go to the club and party with your kids. Stop trying to live your life and recreate it through your children. If you're a parent, it's a huge responsibility. It makes you a better person. But you have to provide the leadership and the guidance that they need. If you're a single mother, I feel for you, but it can be done. You have to wear two hats, and I understand that can be difficult. It can be tiring. Black men, if you have children out there, if you're in jail, get out of jail. Do whatever you have to do. Stay clean, don't fight, do your time, get an education while you're in there as much as you can. And then you come out and you fight for your children. You show them that they're worth fighting for. And then you set that bar really high. You let them know that they're going to cross that bar, every report card, or there's consequences to pay. But you're not going to accept anything more than 3 B's. The rest have to be A's. C's and D's and F's don't come into this household. They don't come into this household. We don't accept that. This is where we are. This is a new fight. This is a new revolution. So I'm hoping you join me. You can help out by sharing this video, and there's a link on your Facebook. Share it with other people. Help get the word out. Thank you once again for listening to my video blog. This is The Revolution, and I'm your host, J.R. Stewart.